What are you doing over there? So the story I'm going to read today is called The Fishing Cat. And it's by Grace Sillerton Myers, and the pictures are by Paul Galdone. Skipper was a big yellow cat. He lived with old John. See old John? It's John, if he were a fisherman. He lived in a little house by the water. And you can see the little house by the water. Every morning, he's flipping out. Oh, come on. Every morning, Skipper went fishing with old John. They went together in old John's boat. The big yellow cat sat in the front of the boat. His round yellow eyes looked down into the water. He did not move a hair. So that's him looking down into the water. And now the kittens are drinking water. That was interesting. I read about water, and they went over and drank water. Old John sat in the back of the boat. His fishing pole was in his hands. His little black eyes watched the big cat. He has little black eyes. There's John in the boat fishing. All at once, Skipper's big yellow tail would move. That told old John a fish was near. Spee, spee, old John would say. That meant, be quick, Skipper. Skipper would move his tail once more. That told old John the fish was smelling the hook. And when Skipper's tail went swish, swish, that told old John the fish had swallowed the hook. See, he's standing over the boat, looking at the fish in the water. All morning, Skipper helped old John. When their basket was full of fish, old John gave Skipper one of the fish to eat. That was Skipper's breakfast. Old John old John gave Skipper one of the fish to eat. That was Skipper's breakfast. Old John sold the other fish to the fisherman. There he is selling the fish to the fisherman. Or fishman, sorry. Obviously, I'm on the ball today. One morning, old John hurt his arm. He would not go fishing. Skipper rubbed his back like this on old John's legs. He looked up at old John's face. Skipper wanted to go fishing. No fishing today, Skipper, old John said. I have hurt my arm. Please don't eat my phone. He went into his little house and shut the door. See, that's Skipper standing outside, not happy that John went back inside the house. Did you guys see that? He's not happy. After a while, Skipper went down to the wharf by himself. Old John's boat was tied to the wharf. Skipper jumped into the front of the boat. He looked down into the water. His round yellow eyes saw a big fish under the boat. His tail moved very fast, but nothing happened. Old John was not there with his fishing pole. There was no hook in the water for the fish to swallow. Skipper jumped onto the wharf. You're looking at me, baby. The fish came to the top of the water near the wharf. Skipper put out his paw. Slap went his paw on the back of the fish. The fish flew into the air. Then down it came on the wharf with a bang. Quick as a wink, Skipper jumped on the fish. Here's the fish coming out of the water. Yes, I know. Did you see that? See the fish? See? Skipper jumped on the fish. He did not eat it, he only held it with his paws. When it was still, he left it on the wharf. Then Skipper looked into the water again. He was waiting for another fish. He held his paw near the top of the water. His round yellow eyes looked down into the water. He did not move a hair. All at once, Skipper's tail went swish, swish. Slap went his paw again. Another fish flew into the air and came down on the wharf with a bang. Skipper did this again and again. Soon he had a pile of fish on the wharf. There's Skipper with his pile of fish on the wharf. That bird is jealous. After a while, old John came looking for his big yellow cat. Baby, you're moving the page. He saw the pile of fish. Where did this pile of fish come from, Skipper? Old John asked the cat. Who has been fishing from my wharf? The big yellow cat rubbed his back on old John's legs. He looked up at old John's face. Skipper wanted his breakfast. No one would care if you had one little fish, old John said, and he gave one of the fish to the big yellow cat. Old John put the other fish between cool leaves in a pan of water. Oh, what's going on? He waited all day for someone to come for them, but no one came. Here's John with the fish and Skipper. Here, baby, I'll show you. When the fisherman came by, old John spoke to him. Who's been fishing from my wharf? He asked the fisherman. Fishman. I keep wanting to say fisherman, but it's fishman. I have not seen anyone, the fishman said. If you find out, old John told him, please let me know. I'm right here and I'm petting you. What more do you want? That evening, the fishman stopped again at old John's house. No one around here has been fishing from your wharf, the fishman said. Maybe you've been fishing there yourself in your sleep. Ha ha. And the fishman laughed. But old John did not laugh. He thought someone was playing a joke on him and he did not like it. What? Here he is with the fishman, and he does not like it that somebody's fishing off of his wharf. The next morning, old John found another pile of fish on his wharf. He looked at Skipper. Who has been fishing from my wharf? Old John asked Skipper again. The big yellow cat rubbed his back on old John's legs. He looked at old John's face. Skipper wanted his breakfast. No one would care if you had one little fish, old John said, and he gave one of the fish to the big yellow cat. But tomorrow morning, old John said, I am going to watch. I will find out who's been fishing from my wharf. What are you doing? I'm petting you. Here he is, looking at the new pile of fish. The next morning, old John got up very early. He sat outside his little house to watch. He waited and waited, but no one came to his wharf. Skipper watched old John. Then the big yellow cat went to the wharf. He walked down by himself. His yellow tail swished proudly in the air, like this, swish, swish. Skipper sat on the edge of the wharf. His round yellow eyes looked down into the water. He did not move a hair. All at once, his tail went swish, swish. Then slap went his paw in the water, slap into the water. Old John watched. His little black eyes popped wide open. He saw a fish fly into the air and come down on the wharf. Bang! Here's Skipper hitting the fish so it lands on the wharf. Slap! The yellow paw went into the water once more, and another fish came down on the wharf. Bang! Before long, Skipper had a pile of fish on the wharf. Old John smiled all over his face. So, it was Skipper who had been fishing from the wharf. Ow! Old John walked down the wharf. The big yellow cat stood by the pile of fish, swishing his tail proudly. Old John patted, what are you doing? Old John patted Skipper's yellow back. So, you are the fisherman who has been fishing from my wharf, Old John laughed softly. You are a fishing cat. You shall have 2 fish for your breakfast. Skipper rubbed his back on Old John's legs. He looked up at Old John's face and purred. He was very happy with himself. What are you doing? Come here. Come here. See? He's patting him, and Skipper is very happy with himself. He's very proud of himself because he's been fishing. From that day, Skipper fished by himself from Old John's wharf, and Old John fished by himself in the boat with his fishing pole. Every morning, before you could wink an eye, Skipper had a pile of fish on the wharf. Every morning in the boat, Old John had a basket of fish for the fishman. And every day, Old John gave the fishing cat 2 fish for his breakfast. The end. See how happy Skipper is sleeping on the wharf? Such a happy kitty. So cute. Okay. The end.